So in web performance, we talk a lot about lofty performance goals, having load time goals of 4 seconds or 3 seconds or even 2 seconds. What we don't talk about as much as why. Why do we have these targets? There have been countless studies that show that the closer we get to these targets, the more we meet various business metrics like increasing conversions or increasing revenues or increasing productivity. But why? So I want to talk about the psychology of performance and why we don't just want pages to load in 4 or 3 or 2 seconds, but why we actually need them to load that quickly. To understand how we perceive performance in a sequence of pages, it's really important to understand how memory works. So at a really high level, you have iconic memory, which works in 100 millisecond bursts and just takes in information and gets rid of it 100 milliseconds later. So we're constantly flushing our iconic memory and only retaining to our short-term memory the information that we really, really need in order to carry that over to then our working memory. If our iconic memory is 100 milliseconds, our short-term memory is only 10 to 15 seconds. That's it. So 10 seconds, not coincidentally, is the maximum threshold that a user can wait for a subsequent page to load in a sequence in order for them to maintain their flow, their train of thought throughout a process. If a page takes longer than 10 seconds to load, it cuts off the train of thought and makes it that much harder for the user to resume their train of thought on the next page. It's important to know that all of these memory processes are completely unconscious. We actually don't have any control over what we retain in these short bursts. Compounding this problem is the fact that our perceptions of time are faulty. So when we're experiencing a page that takes a certain amount of time to load, we actually perceive that load time as being 15% slower than it is. And what's even worse, later on when we walked away from the page, we remember the page as being even 35% slower than it was. So in terms of engaging customers and engaging site users and long-term satisfaction, obviously this poor perceived long-term memory of your experience is not ideal. So our takeaway from this is, well, really, there are only two solutions to the challenges of human memory and its limitations. One is we can speed up evolution so that our brains become better at processing information at the speed of the internet, or we can just speed up our web technologies. So one is clearly a bit easier than the other.